Hey everyone, just a quick video to talk about Desmos and specifically choosing custom colors and layering in Desmos. Try to get the visuals that you want in your graphing project. So first off, what I have here is a few equations. I've just put in an ellipse, a circle, and a line, and we'll talk about layering these in a minute. But what I'm going to start off with is just looking at defining some of the custom colors in case you need to use something that's not in the default, and then going ahead and choosing opacity and things like that. So that is what we will talk about next. So if you click the gear icon up here above the equations, you can click any of these colors that are here on the left, and it will give you a list of the pre-built-in template colors. So there's red, blue, green, orange, purple, and black. And I'll also show you the fill opacity that's next to it. So right now I have this blue one at fill opacity 1, so that's why it's a solid color. You can't see anything behind it. The red, if I click on that one, is right now at 0.4, so that's why I can still see the green line behind that one, is because the green line is behind both of those, but I can see it behind the red one because the fill opacity is 0.4, and I can't see it behind the blue because the fill opacity is at 1. So I do recommend for your graphing project to just keep all your fill opacities at 1, right? So we change that red to 1, then it'll shade it in where you can't see behind it. And sometimes that can be useful when you're layering. Otherwise, things can sometimes be seen behind it and not. So I'm going to change that back to a 0.5 because we'll get to that point a little bit later, but just wanted you to know that that is something that you can edit right there. So let's go ahead and define some custom colors. So if you need like a yellow or a pink or maybe a different shade of blue, then this can be a useful tool, just defining custom colors. So first off, I'm going to just give it a name. So I'm going to start with C and with the subscript OLOR1. So this is color 1. You can name it something else if you want, but sometimes I'll put in like yellow or pink what the actual color is for those. And then we'll put equals HSV. And here we're going to define the H, the S, and the V. So that stands for hue, saturation, and value. So I'm going to start with just a 0, 0, 1, 1. So this is a bright red color right here, color 1. I want to kind of illustrate. I'm going to put in an A for this so you can kind of see how things change on that little swatch. So the hue is going to change the color. So you can notice that color changes between red. You can think of it like a color wheel going around 360 degrees. So it starts with red, goes to orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, but then back to red again by the time it gets all the way around the color wheel. So kind of the order of the rainbow, but it does circle back to itself at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and put this at kind of a yellow color, 53 right now. And then we can, in our gear icon again, click that, click one of our shapes, and that color will now be available in that color palette. So I can click this yellow, which is color 1. If I want to change that red circle to yellow, then that will change it. And if I want to change instead the blue one, right, I could change the blue one instead to a yellow. So it just depends on what you want, what color, as to which one you're going to change. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the blue as it was. I'm going to change the red to the yellow color. And then hit done when you're done, and that's kind of it. If you have this as a variable with a slider, like I do, the A, you can change the A and it'll change the elements in there. So Just make sure you have your colors. Usually you'll want it static once you figure out the exact color that you want on there. Another useful tool is going to be using a color picker. So this will sometimes, instead of trying to change it in Desmos itself, color picker can be useful. Before we go to that, I'll just go ahead and highlight. Let me go ahead and change this to maybe a green color here, and then I'll show you what changes with the saturation and the value. So this, I'm going to change this to a 110. And we'll change this to a B. It's right there, add a slider. So as this slider for the middle number, the S, which is saturation, as that goes to 1, it goes to the green color that we saw before. As it goes to 0, it becomes more white. So you can kind of see it whitish in there. And so this controls basically the paleness of what you're going to see. So it goes from full color to white in between that 0 and 1. I'm going to go ahead and leave that on 1, and we'll look at the value. So if I change the value from 0 to 1, right, this will gradually go from black or gray. It's really a black, that kind of outline color, to 1, which is full color. So you have kind of controlling how light or how dark that color is going to be. If you want something gray, you can go kind of in the middle for both of these, both the saturation and the value. Get kind of a grayish color, but you can kind of play around with those if you want something slightly darker or slightly lighter than what you have with those values set to 1. Another useful thing, like I said, is a color picker. So we'll go there next. So this website, imageresizer.com/color picker, you can go there if you want to use it. And what you can do is go ahead and it'll give you this kind of palette here. You can drag this right slider up and down across that rainbow of colors, and it'll give you kind of your base color. And then once you're in a base color, you can move the little dot in that square around either to full color. So this is like saturation, a value of 1, over to this dark gray or lighter gray, or somewhere down here, or somewhere in between, just depending on what color you want it. So you can use that to try to help you determine what colors you're going to want in your image. You can also, if you want, upload an image, so like the one you're working on, and just drag that dot around, or drag your cursor around, and it'll tell you what color is in that little block that's right there. So that can also be useful if you want to just upload your image and then see what exact colors are in it. But you can also, if you don't have very many colors, just kind of color match based on this color picker that's right here. The way you would type it into Desmos is the H is going to be the same number, the degrees. So this would be 50. And then the percentages we'll put as a decimal. So if I want that yellow color right there, I'll put in 50, 0.71, and 0.94. So let's go and do that. So 50 was the H, 0.71 was the S, and 0.94 was the V. So there's that yellow color that I got off of the color picker. So that's how you can define custom colors. Usually I will put these colors in a folder just so I don't have to see them because they will just kind of sit there the whole time. So I usually put them in a folder and hide them when I'm in the actual project. The last thing we'll talk about is layering. So when you're layering, I'm just going to move this yellow one. So you can notice when I bring that down to the bottom, it kind of layers as you're going through your list from the bottom to the top. So this first line will actually be the bottom layer. Then you get a layer on top of that, and a layer on top of that as you go down your list of equations. So this yellow circle right now is on top, and you notice I can see through it because my saturation is not set to 1. As I change that value to 1, then that will become more solid and I won't be able to see through it. So depending on if you want equations to show through or not show through, you can set that appropriate. I usually recommend just setting all of them to 1 and then using the layer order to decide what you want on top or what you want on bottom. So if I take that line and drag it, I can make it on top of the blue or on top of the yellow, depending on what I want on top, what I want on bottom. So use the layering to determine your order, and you can use just 1 for the shading. The default is 0.4, so I do recommend changing that to a 1 before you decide what exact color you want it to. Otherwise, you'll be trying to determine the color based on something that is somewhat see-through, and it's not very accurate to what you're going to see once you make that a solid color. Hope that was helpful, and we'll see you on the next one.